What is a totally wrong thing that has become so widespread it's not considered wrong anymore? Story 1. Maybe this is just a me thing, but as someone who is adopted, I am really bothered by adoptive parents who lie to their kids. I think starting your relationship with your child based on a lie is completely wrong, and it will come back to bite you later. Unfortunately, some parents who cannot biologically have children will choose to supplement this by adopting a child and telling that child they gave birth to them. This needlessly stigmatizes adoption by making it a shameful secret, while also ensuring that if this child finds out later in life, they will resent their parents 100% and never trust them again. It's awful. My parents were completely transparent with me from a very young age, and I grew up well. I love my parents and personally have no desire to ever meet my biological mother. Every adopted child is different, but they all deserve to be told the truth. Props to this girl's parents. You gotta love parents who are drama-free and straight up real since day one. Just love and truth. Story 2. Your boss expects that they can contact you at any hour. When I was younger, I worked in a retail store for minimum wage, despite running the place 3 days a week and being the second key holder. But I was a poor student and needed any job I could get. One day, I left the other key holder to lock up for the day and I left early. I walked 4.5 miles in the rain and just arrived at the top of my street when I got a call. The store alarm was going off and they couldn't figure out how to switch it off. Could I please go back to stop it? Turned around and walked 4.5 miles back, still in the rain. I got to the store and the shutters were down. I called the guy and got, "Oh, we managed to fix it. We forgot to call back. Sorry." Cue another 4.5 miles in the rain. I quit as soon as I could find something else. No thanks, no pay, nothing. Story 3. Advertisement. Everything consists of it. We have 2 products made at the same place. One gets a tiny print on it that you can also see in advertisements. And suddenly the item costs $250 instead of $30. Just imagine what we pay for marketing. Most of the money we pay for well-known products like Apple goes into marketing. So you don't pay for quality or the product itself, but for its status. Also, just calculate how much of the money you spend in a week goes into marketing. Then calculate how many minutes you spend a week looking at advertisements. Now you know how much money you spend for every hour of your life wasted on advertisements. It's literally the craziest system ever, and it's getting worse and worse every minute. I don't know how people without ad blockers survive. And I don't understand how mobile games with 90% ads are always at the top of the app markets. I wish for a world where advertising becomes something true to itself again and isn't all about being seen. And just now, my friend brought a cheap mattress he'd seen in an advertisement. How much of the money he spends on that product goes into the product itself and how much goes into marketing? I bet his mattress seems great for a few weeks and then becomes a real struggle. Story 4. Having no regard for your mental health or peace of mind in the name of hustling. Funnily enough, having no work-life balance is flaunted. I have a decent job, not high-paying, but it covers the bills with some extra and has good benefits. I work 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, and then go home. One of my friends is always pushing me to side hustle by doing Uber or getting a second job, etc., talking about how much more I could be making. Sure, but I value my mental health and relaxation time with my wife far above the extra couple $100 a month. People seem to think that if you're not squeezing every bit of potential profit out of your life, you're wasting it, when in reality, they are living just to work. I'd rather make enough to get by in a low-stress and enjoyable job than be filthy rich in a stressful job I hate. I actually came to my current job after stepping down from a higher management role that paid significantly better but was absolutely hell and required long hours and constantly being on call. The extra pay was simply not worth the damage it was doing to my mental health and relationships outside of work. Preach! Work-life balance and peace of mind is very much part of adulting. I'd take those quiet moments of peace over just stacking the bills always. Story 5. This has changed a lot in recent years, I'm assuming, but people go to work when they're sick. I'm not sure what it's like in the rest of the world, but I feel like in the US, we've been conditioned to feel like it's worse to be an inconvenience by not showing up to work than going to work sick, miserable, and getting everyone else sick. I am not trying to attack those who can't afford to take time off. I absolutely understand that it's a reality for a lot of people. I get that many times there is no good choice. There are also times when paid sick time is available, but workers are pressured into feeling like they can't take time off or honestly think the place of work can't survive without them. That's BS. We've been brainwashed into believing that we should be eternally grateful to our employers for simply having a job, any job. Also, for most of us, health insurance is tied to employment, though they work around that too. Hello, gig economy. So there's a real and present fear of losing a job, and thus losing health insurance. American corporations just love to whine and complain about having to provide health benefits, or any benefits really, for their employees. The horror, but they know full well the leverage it gives them over us. Story 6. Multi-level marketing groups that target women who peaked in high school or college and lure them to think it'll make them boss babes by bothering their personal connections and contacts about leggings, candles, skincare, nails, or even supplements. If I get one more "Hey girl" scripted message on Facebook Messenger from some girl who voted me out of a study group, made me do all the work in a class project, or took all my POGs away in 5th grade, I'll go crazy. Story 7. Using your children to become an influencer. I have an Instagram page where I share play ideas as an educator, but my kids' faces are never in the photos. I won't mention their names either. Many parents with similar accounts are posting daily numerous photos and videos of their kids to thousands of followers and getting them involved in live feeds and stories. We have a generation of kids who, in 10 to 15 years, will have their entire childhood documented online, and it will have been done without their consent. Story 8. Photoshopping and social media. Sure, let me Photoshop myself into a completely different looking person and receive all the praise as if it actually validates me. I'm a designer and I Photoshop images for work sometimes. Once people learn that I'm pretty good at it, many people ask me to Photoshop their photos for the most mundane reasons. You look great the way you are. Life is not ideal. It kills me so much on the inside when my friends ask me to Photoshop their photos to make them look less flawed, and now I absolutely refuse to do it. If it's for people's work profiles, weddings, or something similar, it makes sense, but I usually get asked to edit normal everyday photos for superficial reasons, like making their skin flawless, making their hair have more volume, or removing an entire person from a group photo. That's the kind of stuff that always makes me die a little on the inside. I also absolutely hate having to Photoshop kids' and babies' photos. I feel like subjecting them to ridiculous standards is going way too far. Babies and kids are gross and uncooperative sometimes. We shouldn't try to hide that. Story 9. Perfect attendance is being celebrated for kids. When my kid is sick, he stays home. He's healthy too. I can't imagine having a kid with a disorder that makes them prone to being sick more often and then not getting some little award for not being in school every day. Kids get sick. It's not wise to send them to school anyway so they can spread germs. I just find it so dumb. Come to school every day so we can get more funds and we'll give you a piece of paper that says, "Thanks." Nah, if your kid is sick, keep them home. There are also a lot of good reasons not to be in school besides just being sick. Mental health days and break days are just as important. That translates to the workplace as well. The day I got my braces off, 5-year ordeal, I expected to go back to school afterward. My dad took me to a biplane ride instead. I also probably missed at least 2 weeks of school a year for various trips. I was still learning, just not in school. I graduated in the top 1% of my class in high school. I never once had perfect attendance. In fact, I think only one person in the top 25 had perfect attendance. Her parents were both teachers. Perfect attendance and performance are not correlated. Story 10. The customer is always right. I actually looked into this because I was curious. When it was first a thing, it did make sense. It just doesn't make sense now. So to explain, the customer is always right originated back when buyers beware was also a thing. Quality control and uniformity weren't really a thing. So you could buy a brand new vacuum sleeve from the store that is missing a part of the motor and doesn't work. The customer is always right was started by a single store, and it was the slogan meant to mean if the customer said the store sold them a defective product, then the customer was. Naturally, this took off and made the store a huge success because it gave customers peace of mind about their purchases, which made the idea take off. In modern times where the chances of getting a defective product are extremely unlikely, it no longer fits and was also never supposed to apply to anything except returns to begin with. Sadly, the reason the phrase still exists is long gone, but the mentality remains. Story 11. Flashing used to be illegal. Now every woman gets unsolicited photos in her DMs from strangers. No, I don't think that flashing and e-flashing have the same immediate threat, but I do think that e-flashing is still threatening and worth criminalizing. If this is a problem that every woman deals with online, then it's obviously time to let the law in. Yes, the law gets misused with false reporting. We still have laws. If you disagree with how being raw is natural and not a big deal, then you aren't looking at the reality of our culture now. Getting consent is really easy for naturalists. This is barely even a related argument. Ask for consent. Man, it's wild how things have evolved, right? E-flashing? Seriously? Let's keep it 100% online and respect personal space. It's high time to unleash the banhammer on this madness. And hey, if you're vibing with this, give that like button some love and join the squad on my channel. I'm your go-to for all things online safety and epic tips. Story 12. Bragging about the good you do on social media, like documenting giving a homeless person something and filming it, crying in front of your smartphone camera, selling out your personal hardship on social media, and basically the whole corrupt use of talent in the grand scheme of things at the expense of morals and societal change. It's disgusting to film yourself giving homeless people food or money so you can get praise on the internet. I've seen arguments say they might inspire others to help the homeless, and I'm not buying that crap. The videos on YouTube would be titled, "I gave a homeless man $300, and it just screams, "Look at me, I'm such a good person." Because of the anonymity on here, I am willing to share that I have helped the homeless, and it's something I care about deeply, but I've never recorded myself doing it so that I could get praise on social media. It's not about me. It's about helping them. I wouldn't want my face plastered on the internet by some weirdo with a camera, bragging about how much he helped me out. That behavior is disgusting, and I hate how much of a trend it is to capitalize off of the homeless. Story 13. Spam email. We ignore it. It's just there, but it shouldn't be. Also, paper mail that you never asked for. It's a waste of resources. I've been getting magazines, catalogs, advertisements, and other solicitations in the mail, and I've never once responded in any fortuitous way to any of them. Who actually indulges in that to inspire that potential return on investment? Really, it should be illegal to mail people trash. Story 14. Everything is packaged in more plastic. I work in retail, and the amount of plastic and trash we get from the stock is horrendous. It's so depressing to see it all the time. The plastic you see on the shelves is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the waste it produces. Where I work, a single pallet will produce like 5 large trash bags worth of plastic trash. I love seeing products that only use cardboard packaging. Story 15. Well, I'm not sure if it's actually wrong, but needing a few years of experience for an entry-level job just sounds pretty wrong to me. Companies seem to not differentiate between entry, let's say at most an internship beforehand, and low-level positions, 1 to 5 years of experience. Entry-level jobs needing years of experience? It's like asking for a driving license to ride a bicycle. Let's keep it real and give the newbies a chance. Story 16. Children who are into social media. I've definitely been caught off guard by kids with smartphones and screens in front of them all the time. There's something about it that just seems so incomprehensibly different from what I picture a childhood to be like. But then I realized I was that kid to some people. When I was 6 using my parents' Windows XP computer, and before that I would even use the computer for early childhood video games. I was on YouTube when I was 10 and got a smart device, a flip phone, a Facebook when I was 13, sure. When I was little, I wasn't on screens in public like kids on smartphones and tablets can be, but that's just a constraint of the times. I might have been on my parents' phones if the technology existed. I'm 25 now, and I've had years where I've grappled with dependence on my devices for connection, especially when I was self-isolating for a few years. Interacting with phones and computers can be a very rich, fun, connecting, and informative experience, but it can also be isolating with respect to people in the physical world around you. You can be having a good or bad time on your phone, but to people around you, you're just a quiet person staring at a screen. There are many times I wish that my family cared about my digital life enough to show interest when I was trying to tell them about what I was up to on my screen. Sure, getting kids off screens is good sometimes. Teaching them to put down their phone or stop using an app when they think it's not doing good things for them is better. But making sure that they're integrating their screen time with their friends and family in real life is, I think, key to making a generation that's prepared for this wild time we're living in. Story 17. Does anyone else think it's weird that we all know that our clothes, electronics, and pretty much anything else we buy are made by sweatshops or literally slave labor, and everyone seems to be fine with that? To everyone saying there's nothing average people can do about it or asking me what average people can do about it, there are a few simple things you can do. Shop less. Don't buy things you don't need. Shop secondhand. Take care of the things you do have and make them last. Write to your legislators and corporations themselves and let them know what they're doing is not okay. Not everyone can be perfect and do everything, but everyone can do something. I don't really think most people are fine with it. I think most people don't know what they are supposed to do. Often, but not always, of course, we are actually paying reasonable prices for our clothing. The issue is that the lion's share of those profits are kept by the store and distributor, and only a tiny amount of the cost of an item actually makes its way to the manufacturer. Now, I don't know what the solution to this is either, but I don't think it's something I, as a consumer, have much ability to influence. Also, I don't buy clothes that often. Story 18. The objectification of our youth on social media and algorithms that reward and promote it. For young girls, it's even just finding clothing that doesn't make them look older than they are. I have a young girl who's tall for her age, but it's very hard to find kid clothes. It's like the clothing industry has conspired to say that it's time for her to dress sexy. Shorts and shirts are made very short. And in the kids section recently, the new thing is elastic pants, but with a matching crop top, in sizes as small as XS. You can find some things, but it's absurd how hard you need to look to make them feel like kids. This is just wrong. Let them be kids. Story 19. Being proud of and bragging about a lack of sleep, as if it's some sort of virtue, or working yourself till you are burned out. If you are not giving it 100% all of the time, you are lazy, and when you finally crash and burn due to lack of sleep and exhaustion from working constantly, you are not hard enough. Until recently, I've considered that time spent sleeping was basically lost time, so I picked up the habit of sleeping 4 to 5 hours a night, thinking that, as long as I managed to wake up on time, I would win back the hours I could have spent sleeping somehow. Then a friend of mine talked me into reading the book Why We Sleep by Dr. Matthew Walker. I've been sleeping for 7 to 8 hours a night ever since, and I cannot recommend this book enough. Even if you don't have the time or will to read, the bottom line is that you really should sleep 8 hours a night. Story 20. Arguments are verbal battles meant to be won. Arguments are discussions with the objective of reaching a truth or consensus. It's not about dunking on your interlocutor or asserting your beliefs over theirs. Also, if I stutter or can't speak my thoughts clearly, that doesn't mean you're right or you've won the argument. I just can't speak properly at the moment for whatever reason. I absolutely hate people who bulldoze other people when the other person just can't articulate, does not speak their native tongue, or in my case, works with mostly math people who aren't good with language or words. Calm down. Winning by default doesn't mean much. Story 21. Taking pictures of strangers who aren't doing anything wrong or untoward just to post up on social media with some snark or judgment. I always feel horrible for people when I see them. The first time I can remember this becoming a trend was on the People of Walmart website back in the 2000s, where people took pictures of people in Walmart, usually dressed funny, or they're fat or whatever, and uploaded them to the website to make fun of them. I realized, wait, I look like crap when I go to Walmart. It's Walmart. What am I going to do? Dress in a three-piece suit? Some of those outfits also suggest mental illness. There was a podcast where one of the guys on it was saying how those sites, and especially People of Walmart, are really classist too. Because there's no being kind about maybe these people don't have the ability to buy nicer clothes or be in a store other than Walmart, or myriad other reasons for them to be there in what they're wearing. I hate those websites. There's no kindness, no mercy giving, just trying to take humanity away from people trying to buy their groceries. It's really disgusting. Story 22. How much material is classified as recyclable is, in truth, not recyclable. It's more of a marketing win that keeps people using plastic. Why else would China stop taking the world's trash? They could do nothing with it but bury it in the ground. Most plastics aren't recyclable, like you might think, unless they're all the same type. It's only useful for stuff like composite decking and those plastic feel-good park benches that take more CO2 to make than just cutting down a tree and replanting one. But hey, you feel good about pretending to be green, right? That's all that matters. Story 23. Talking on the phone loudly. Wherever you happen to be, no one steps away anymore or even acts embarrassed when on the phone in public. Also, people who talk use the speaker option anywhere. I see it while clothes shopping, in grocery stores, or having a coffee in a cafe. When I'm in the break room at work, typically 3 other people are watching videos with headphones or listening to music. Each one is trying to be louder than the next to hear what they're watching. No headphones. What the hell? Headphones come with the darn phone. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you made it this far, I'm sure you'll also enjoy what seems harmless but is incredibly dangerous. Story 5 is an eye-opener. See you on that video.